did want to share a little bit of my testimony. I grew up right here at Breezy Hill Baptist Church. As I was standing over there, I was looking around, and so many places around here have a memory for me. I remember right over there, we barbecued a pig in a pit one time. And over there, we built a mud pit, and I don't know the purpose of it other than we just about drowned each other in the mud. We set off believe it or not, we set off a landmine out in the field one time. And I remember playing a game in the dark one time, and we had a volleyball net set up here. And we had a visitor who wasn't aware there was a volleyball net set up there. And it was a game where they had to chase us, and I'm running, and I duck, and the visitor did not duck. And so we had one death, almost death right there. And but it does bring back a lot of memories. I remember doing the limbo in a grass skirt right about there. And so lots and lots of memories from this church and from my time here. But as I was thinking about those memories, I remember thinking as a 15-year-old kid, 16-year-old kid, if you would have told me that my life was going to be where it is today, I would have panicked. It's absolutely not what I would have chosen for my life. My journey, my current journey, started on May 1st, 5 years ago. My wife, name was Mindy Clark. She had been suffering some back pain, and we went to the emergency room. And there that day, long story short, the doctor looked me in the eyes and said, "Your wife has 3 to 6 months left to live." Man, that was hard. Due to some circumstances, I was in another room when they told me, and I remember walking in and looking at my wife, and she had already been told, and her eyes filled up with tears. And I remember looking at her just saying, "I don't know how this is going to end, but one thing I can promise is everything's going to be okay." A lot of times people say, "How do you know everything's going to be okay? How do you keep your joy?" And I know I'm crying, or on the verge of crying now, but believe it or not, I have a lot of joy. God's been very good to me. And people ask, how do you keep your joy? Why do you still smile? How can you still be in a good mood? You know, there have been many times that I want to just curl up in bed and not get out of bed. There have been many times when I was driving that I just wanted to keep driving and just drive into the sunset. My wife, she passed away on September the 15th, 4 years ago. And 6 weeks later, my youngest daughter, Cassidy, was diagnosed with leukemia. And she had started acting tired and not really acting herself. And the truth is, I really thought a lot of it had to do with her mom had just passed away. And I was giving her a bath one evening. As I was giving her a bath, I felt 2 lumps on the back of her neck. And I thought, well, maybe she's just got a cold. And then the next day, she had 2 lumps under her neck. And we went to the doctor. And she was diagnosed with leukemia. She went through her treatment for, it's a 26-month treatment. And about 22 months into the treatment, everything was going great. I mean, you could not ask for things to go better. She went into remission right away. She was not having any major side effects from all the treatment. And, you know, really death was not something that was even crossing our mind at that point. The doctors, I'll never forget the doctors telling me, Cassidy has better than an 80% chance of beating leukemia and going on and living a full life. And for me, that was great news. You know, I mean, my first wife, she had been given a 0 chance of survival. And so whenever they told me that Cassidy had such a great chance of survival, I mean, I was excited as excited could be. I thought, yeah, man, we're going to blow through this. This is going to be great. And we really weren't. But I remember with about 4 months ago in her treatment, some blood work was taking longer to come back. And by this time I'd been around the doctors a lot, and I realized things usually work pretty according to plan, and if they're not going according to clockwork or according to plan, there's probably something going on. And I asked the nurse what was going on, and she said, well, most tests are back. We're still waiting on one other test, and whenever that comes in, the doctor will call you back, and she'll talk to you. And I remember Dr. Storch calling me back in the back and saying, Chad, we've seen some things in the blood, and we believe that the leukemia is back. And man, my heart broke again. And so I sat and talked with her, and I said, well, if it's back, what's going to happen? And she said, well, we'll look and we'll see. We'll probably just give her some more chemo and try to get her back in remission and continue the treatment and see what's happening. If it's real severe, we'll do a bone marrow transplant. And she said, we just need to do a biopsy. So we did a biopsy, and she called me back and she said, Chad, I just do not believe what I see here. I think there must be some mistake. We're going to do another biopsy. And so we did another biopsy, and Dr. Storch called me back and said, Chad, I really hate to tell you this, but Cassidy no longer has ALL. She's been cured of ALL. She now has AML. She said, to be more accurate, she has AMML. And I said, well, what does that mean? And she said, well, one, it means that this is a whole different type of cancer. She says, now Cassidy has had 2 cancers. This is not the same cancer, it's a different cancer. And it also means that her chance of survival has just dropped significantly. I later found out they did not think she would go into remission that first time, and she did. And she went into remission. We did the bone marrow transplant. Everything ran smoothly. Everything went well. We were living in California at the time. I was a youth pastor out in Los Angeles, California, and had been looking to get back to this area where I had my family lived and my friends lived and all. I wanted to get back around people that I knew. Not that I didn't know anybody out there, but this was just home. And after all that had happened and all, I was ready to get home for a little while. And we talked to our doctor, and Dr. Palaska said, man, everything's going really good, and you can go home whenever you want. And so last August, we moved back to the area.